This is Jim Wyatt, the Tennessean, alongside John Glennon, and we just got through listening to Ken Wisenhunt and Rustin Webster talk about the team's plans for the 2014 NFL Draft. They didn't give away any secrets by any stretch. I mean, they complimented every player they were asked about. They didn't say a negative thing about any of the guys, and you wouldn't expect them to tip their hand too much. Among the questions they were asked about the quarterback position, they touched, on just about every guy that they were asked about, talked about their strengths, didn't bring up many weaknesses. A question a lot of Titans fans have is, will this team pick a quarterback in the first round? I know, John, you're working on a story about the quarterback position for Tennessean.com. What do you think heading into the draft?
Yeah, to me, I think it's a question of not so much if they'll take a quarterback as much as when they take the quarterback. And, right now, of course, they have the 11th overall pick, and you would think probably at least the top two quarterbacks, probably Bortles and Manziel, likely to be gone by the 11th pick. So if you're the Titans, do you roll the dice on a guy like a Derek Carr with the 11th overall pick? Do you move back in the first round and take a quarterback, or do you wait in the middle rounds? That's kind of the question. And I think the good thing for the Titans is they've got enough depth at the quarterback position in this draft that they could probably afford to move back, get somebody in a second-round pick or a fourth-round pick, or if they're able to pick up a third round as well. That way you can get a position player maybe in the first pick, maybe in the second pick even as well, then turn your attention to a quarterback at that point. That would be my guess as to what I see them doing with the quarterback. But again, you can read more about this in Tennessean.com either later today or tomorrow.
And I do think one thing we both agree on is that they need to take a quarterback at some point in this draft, and they need to protect themselves with Jake Locker's injury history and the fact that he is heading into the last year of his contract. Now, one question I think, and Rustin Webster's pretty much said himself, they're taking a running back in this draft, and again, it's just a matter of when. Do they take one early like a Trey Mason in the second round? Carlos Hyde's going to be up there, or do they wait and try to get someone, fourth, fifth round? There have been some backs in the league, just down the street. A Vanderbilt guy last year busted out and had a heck of a year, and Zach Stacy, he was a late round pick, and we saw what he did. And I think every year you see a running back come out of those later rounds and have some success. So we'll see what happens there. Russell Webster still, though, I know I talked to him last week and asked the question again today about what this team's needs are. He hasn't even tipped his hand on what they need in this draft. What do you think, when all is said and done, what do you think ends up being the positions that they end up taking in this draft?
I'm not sure about all the positions necessarily, but yeah, even when you just look at that first pick, there's still a number of ways they could go. There's offensive line, a tackle I think is a possibility. The edge rusher is certainly a possibility. Cornerback, they do have depth, but they did lose a very good player in Altron Werner, so that's a possibility as well. Very hard to pin down, I would say at this point. Maybe at this, if I had to say now, maybe I lean a little bit towards either the edge rusher or maybe a tackle if a Taylor Lewan is still available, say. What your thoughts? I believe you're still looking, you're feeling strong about Anthony Barr, right?
Yeah, I still think Barr's a good pick for him just because he kind of fills a need and they're familiar with him. But to be honest with you, and I've said to people before, nothing will surprise me with this 11th pick other than if they take a running back, which they're not going to do because there's not a running back with an 11th round, 11th overall grade on him, or a punter or a kicker. They may take a kicker somewhere in this draft. It's not going to be in the first round, but they could go in a number of different directions. I think that's one thing that is favorable for the team in this year's draft class. They don't have to have a guy like they did last year in Chance Warmack. So we'll see how this thing plays out. But John Glenn and I will be out here at St. Thomas Sports Park throughout the weekend. First round Thursday, second and third round on Friday. Titans currently don't have a third round pick. They'd like to get one back, and then rounds 4 through 7 on Saturday here at St. Thomas Sports Park. For John Glennon, I'm Jim Wyatt with the Tennessean. Remember to check us out at Tennessean.com for stories, blogs, videos, and follow us both on Twitter, Jay Glennon Sports, Glennon Sports, Jay Wyatt Sports, and we'll see you next time.